Hello once again everyone. This is another video tutorial to go through user account control bypass, UAC bypass using fodhelper. This is a good technique when you're trying to prevent from a machine that you've got access to. For example, you find that you've got a user who's a local admin, but when you try and run commands as an elevated user, you find that you're stuck. So and you figure that that the machine has UAC enabled, and this is a trick on how to bypass that. So we'll go straight right onto it. I'll demonstrate the whole process. I'll just clear that light out. All right, cool. So let's get going. So I'm going to use the Windows machine that we used before. Quickly demonstrate that. I've got a reverse shell that's set up here. I'll quickly just set it up on I'll set up a listener here. Sorry, I will first create an MS when I'm just to create that reverse shell and upload it to the Windows machine so that we do it the right way. Let's call it EXX. We save the file. And we pull it to our Windows machine with PowerShell. So let's go to the desktop. Nine 8.51.100.2 x.exe as out file x. So exe, and that's uploaded. So if we run that file, we should get our reverse shell x.exe. Sorry, we first need to set up a listener. Clear this, clear nc, and then we run the reverse shell x.exe, and we should get a reverse shell here. There you go. So, and if we do a who am I, that's the user there, John 0.11. So if we go to, I'll just go into PowerShell. So if we go and we do a net local group, just want to show you that this is part of the administrator. We can see that he is actually part of the administrators group. Here you go. So if we're going to try and create a new file inside the system32 just to see whether we can do it. Ideally, if we don't have UAC and we are administrator, we should be able to create that file. So this is the command here. So if I run that, which is new item, basically create this file and put it here. If we do that, we get permission denied. So what is happening? So we're going to try and enumerate and see whether we've got UAC enabled on this machine. And to do that, we're going to use this command. I'm going to put all these commands in the description, so if you feel free to go through it. And basically, we're checking the registry settings for this. So that is the command there to check and the property of this in this particular registry setting here. And if we get a value of 0, then we know UAC is not enabled. But if we get any other value, then we know it's enabled. So if we do that, we see that it's got set to 5, then we know it's enabled. And we can also check this EnableLUA, another property as well. If it is 0, then we know UAC is not enabled. So if we put that in there, that is the command. Again, I'll put it in the description. If we put it there, it's enabled. That means, sorry, it's got 1, so that means it's enabled. And to actually show it on the Windows machine, if we go to this particular, if you go to control, run control, sorry, and if you go to system and security, and let's type UAC here and click on that, and if you go to security here, you see that it is actually set to the default. Anything, if UAC is disabled, then it would be here, but we've got it enabled. So, and you click OK, this is what you actually got, user account control, and we're trying to bypass this. And we are going to use fodhelper, and I'll show why we are using fodhelper. So fodhelper is a Windows utility which runs without UAC, and it's got high privileges. So we're going to try and use it and do a registry hijack, and I'll show how. The commands that we'll be using for this particular are actually 3 very simple commands, and these are the commands here. So we're going to modify this registry setting, this one here, and we're going to put a command here, and then this is required for this. I'll put this in the description as well, and then we run the fodhelper, and I'll demonstrate why we need to do this one here. So I'm going to use procmon, process monitoring, to check out the process when we run fodhelper. So I'll open that here, and the process, so we've got these filters here. So the process name is fodhelper. I've created a filter that will look for a process that is called fodhelper, and that also contains this path here, ms setting command, which you can see is what we've got in this here, ms setting here. So I'm going to run this command, and then we'll capture it on with the we'll have a look on the pro. So we'll run this in the command prompt, minimize that window. So if I do this, remember I'm only trying to show you on the Windows machine, but ideally, or in actual real case, we'll only have the shell on the other side. So if I run this, let's say I apply the filter, okay, and then I run that, the fodhelper here, and it's captured that. And go to filter, it should actually filter. Oh, we removed the other one, so I'll put again path contains, and I'll pull that value here, and apply. Okay, and so this is the ones that you can see it's handled that. So this is the 3, and if you look, so when you run fodhelper, it's actually going to run this command here. Sorry, it's going to check on the registry here, and then if we put the value, so we'll open that registry setting and just to see. We've got software shell, ms settings, sorry, software classes, ms settings shell, open command. So this is where, so this is what I had before. I'm going to remove this, but we'll show. So this is where you actually put I'll delete this. So for example, if we put cmd.exe here and okay that, and then we run that fodhelper again via command prompt, let's say cmd we should expect to see another prompt pop up. So if I do this, oh no, that is the file that I'm trying to run. You see it popped up another window, which it picked up from the value of the registry here, which we put in here, cmd. So what ideally we're trying to do is we're going to put a reverse shell here and expect that when we run the fodhelper, it will pop a shell. And because the fodhelper, if we go to the procmon again, if you right click on this particular one and you go to properties, you will see that this runs with a high integrity. That means we'll get an elevated shell, which is what we're trying to do to get the prevesc. All right, so let's do that. So the three commands again is this here, and it's as good as just putting the reverse shell at that particular registry, but we're going to use the PowerShell to do that, and this is where we're going to put the command. Now for this, I'm going to use a special shell generator that I've been using all along. I'll create a new, and I'll put a link to the description. I'll put a link in the description of where you can find this, but I found it very, very useful in my OSCP as well. So this is, if I go to here, tools, C shells, and this is a shell generator, so I'll run that. It's very, very, very good, so I really recommend this. So I go to one, I set up my IP, my listener, so 198.51.100.2, port 443. I'll put in 1, and then I'll choose this one here, which is PowerShell MS Build. Once you learn this tool, you'll find it very useful, and you can choose any of the other options. And more often than not, it'll bypass Defender as well. So I put 12, and it's going to save this file in the temp folder. You can choose any other folder that you want, but this is going to create this CS proj that we're going to serve as part of the reverse shell. So click that. That's my IP. Just enter. It'll send it to the public, so that's fine. And this is the reverse shell that it has generated. So you can either use this as it is, or you can use it as a base 64. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy this command here into, so remove this, I'll remove this, and because it's got a double, I'll put 2 quotes, and then I'll just paste the command. I'll give this space first of all, and I'll just paste that command here. That's it. Now we run this command again on the shell that we had. So copy that, go to this particular where we've got who am I, our access. All right, so I'll run this command. It's happening. Let's see. All right, yes, so just fixing this. So again, what we'll do is I'll repeat that. So what we had here is, this is where we enter the command. So we just use the single quotes and then paste in that command that we got from this reverse shell here, which is pasting the whole command here, right? then what we do is we copy that here and run that command there. And basically what it means, it's put this property into that registry entry there. So if we look at that, we should be able to see that ideally it should be on the registry settings here. We'll have to close this. If we close that and open that, you'll find that it's in that particular point where you with the registry. All right, so that's the first thing. Then we run the second command, which is actually, let me just have a confirmation. 1 minute. Yeah, just to show that registry setting that has taken effect. So if we go to the Windows machine and if we go to the registry, and you can see this value that I put there, the whole string is in there. Then we run the second command again. Again, the reason I've got the Windows machine here is just to demonstrate what is happening on the machine. We will not be having access to this Windows machine like this. So we go to the other command, which is the second command I showed, which is this one here. And before we run that, you will see that in this registry setting here, there's nothing at the bottom here, there's only the one. So once we run that, we'll expect to see the one come up here. So if I run that again, paste that, it's updated that in here. And if we go to the registry, we'll close it and open it up. So if I close this, I'm sure there's a way of refreshing, but if we go to reg edit again and we check that, then you've got that value here. So that's basically the two commands, what it is doing. Then we run fodhelper. Now before we run fodhelper, this particular command, remember the one that we created, the reverse shell, it created a, we need to serve that CS project on the temp folder. So I'll close that, I'll open it here so that we see what is happening. So I'll split the screen. I'll go to cd temp. I'll serve this here. So ideally on this Windows machine, when I run this last command here, which is this one, it's gonna, with the registry hijacking, it's gonna run that command, that the value that is in that command field on this registry setting, and this is a reverse shell. And what should happen is it should upload this file, the CS proj, which actually I'll just show you that it's here, this file here. It will upload that file and run it, and we should get a reverse shell. What we'll need to do, we'll need to set up another listener on port 443. So I'll clear this. We'll split the screen again, and I'll create a listener here on port 443 and serve this on 80. And then on that original Windows machine, which we didn't have here, I'll run the fodhelper.exe file, so which is this one, this command. So I'll go here, run this here, and then once I run it, we'll come on to tab 4 and see what is happening there. So if I run this file here, and if we go to tab 4, we see that it uploaded the project file, and we've got a new shell here, right? And if I click on this, now if we try and do the original where we were able to, where we're trying to create the new file, I'll just show you. Remember this particular command failed because it was saying permission denied. So if we try and do it on this new shell, paste it here. Ideally, we should be able to successful. There you go. So that's successful. So we've successfully bypassed that, and from here we basically got admin, and we can actually, while we're here, let's try and get a reverse shell, right? Metapreter shell, and elevate to system. So let's see, I'm just trying something on this other screen. So this is our original screen where you can see this is denied, and then if we go to our new shell and run the same command, there you go, it's running. So that shows you that we've been able to bypass that, and everything is good. So we will try and create a see whether we can. What we'll try and do is, we'll, again, if I do a who am I here, it's still John. So we're going to try and get a metapreter and get a system shell. So if I clear that, I'll do an ms venom with a metapreter shell. Let's call it met. And what? So let's say ms. Because with the other shell, there is no way you could have gotten system if you had metapreter. So ms venom. I think I'm getting the wrong. Oh, there you go. So minus file exe minus out file, sorry, minus o net.exe. Sell this file. I pull this file here, cd -UNI http 1.8.1.100.2 net.exe minus out. .exe. Let's pull that file. So we'll start a listener here, metapreter. Port 443, everything looking good. Because ideally the reason we're trying to get system is we want to dump hashes and move on to the next machine if we get some good hashes. So waiting for that to kick off, and then once that starts, so that's the listener there. So if we run that met.exe, we get our shell here, metapreter shell, and session. We choose sessions 1. Let's try and get system. We got system. That means we are now we're now able to dump shell. So if we go to shell here and do a who am I, we are full system. That means we can do anything on this box. So again, a summary of this, and then we can, let's Control Z, background that, and if we want to, let's say load Kiwi, and if you want to dump creds, so and start dumping creds and passwords all over the place and things like that, and hashes, HKLM hashes, you've got them here. You would not be able to do this without pre-vesting to system. So the path here is we were able to get a user. The user was local admin, but we couldn't do anything with that local admin. So what we had to do, because of UAC bypass, so we had to bypass UAC with fodhelper. Once we bypass with that, we were able to now get another Metapreter shell and then elevate that to system. And then from system, we've got full control of the box. And then we can now do a post prevesc and pivot to other machines and things like that. So again, shell here, who am I, and full system. So yep, that's it. That's the end of this video. We'll put everything in the description. If you've got any questions or any feedback, please reach me out on the comments section. And then feel free to also reach out to me on my Discord. I'll put the details down there. And thanks for that, guys, and have a nice day, evening. Cheers.